And once again, a very nice welcome to another Dutcham webinar here on this Thursday afternoon, sunny afternoon in São Paulo, hopefully also in Rio and in the rest of Brazil. We're ready and off to go for another webinar, this time on a very nice topic as well, on compliance and ethics, because this is apparently also the moment to talk about this subject. Luckily, I'm not alone in this webinar. I have the assistance of a few top experts with me today, and kicking off officially this webinar then.
Hello, everybody. So I am Patricia Vasconcellos. I am the compliance manager for SBM Offshore. So this is a company that is obviously in the offshore business, and that means that the company does design, supply, installation.
I work for Makro. Makro is part of SHV Holdings. It's a wholesaler with business in 5 countries in South America with around 10,000 employees and over 120 stores.
My name is Geert. I run Control Risks. I'm a partner at Control Risks here in Brazil, and on the executive committee globally. And as probably some of you know, we are essentially a global risk consultancy. If we look back in history, and I promise to make this short, but if we look back in history, almost every time there's a major crisis, it ends up being a generator for corruption and fraud risk issues. We have relative new situations like massive amounts of government funding and stimulus packages and the like, which can create significant risk issues if they're not properly managed. We have emergency spending in very large amounts. I think most of us are familiar with that. Donations by companies to government. And a really important one, a more mundane operational one, is significant disruption in supply chain, for example.
In our case, especially having people all over the stores, we really feel we need to reach out to these people and tell them how we expect them to behave, and also listen to them and understand what their issues are on a daily basis. So I think because of the pandemic, people realized even more that communication is key. We are finding different ways to communicate, mainly digitally now, but I have a saying, compliance speaks louder through the mouth of the business. And for me, this is key, because if I do speak about ethics and compliance, people think, well, she's paid to do that, right? That's her job. So when people listen to their managers talking about ethics and compliance and how ethics and compliance is a non-negotiable for the company, I think it is a lot stronger.
So yes, that's another very hot topic, of course. And as you mentioned, as for everything else, that also cannot stop. So we did have to be very creative. In our industry, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of units that are offshore. So that's always kind of an issue for us, access to them. So we have over, almost 1,000 employees who are offshore. And we have to find ways of communicating with them. So it's not the most ideal situation, but whenever we can, we did not stop any of our investigations. We decided to go ahead with them, even in the situation which is not ideal right now, but putting the brake to what we were doing was not really an option, because we have to make sure, and as Christina had said before, we are making sure that our employees are very aware that the integrity line is still working, that they can still reach out to us, and that things did not become okay that were not okay before.
The only thing I would say is, and probably people have heard this from others, but just because the situation has changed, don't forget that the rules have not. And I think it's really important to stick the course.
But it's just to remain approachable. People, of course, it's a time when everybody is trying to figure out how they're going to handle the situation. So are we. But they will need the guidance of everyone, of course, top management, but as a compliance professional, have to be within reach of the people who will seek that guidance. So make it accessible and just be accessible yourself also. And I think together everybody's going to go through this.
I think that I saw compliance changing and broadening the areas where we help the companies to do good business, and I've always seen this progressing. So I don't think this is going to change. I think some years from now we will remember this situation by saying we came out of it stronger, better, and maybe different, more using more technology or taking more care of people. So my message is positive. I think let's just continue on the right path.